Welcome everyone. In today's special episode, I'll be talking about why I love Mario Kart Tour. In a recent video, I described some of my thoughts regarding the future of Mario Kart and the elements in Mario Kart Tour that really draw me in and keep me playing as a player. So I'm going to compare Mario Kart Tour, the experience relative to that of other Mario Kart consoles, and also provide Nintendo with a bit of context for ways that they can improve the experience, not just in Mario Kart Tour, but for the next mainline Mario Kart game as well. So if that sounds really exciting to all of you, be sure to drop a like on this video. Mario Kart is the most successful game within the racing genre overall, right? And part of that has to do with the unique elements that compose what represents the Mario Kart experience, right? The course design, the items and the frenetic pace that it goes at, the chaos of racing with your friends, racing competitively online, right? These are all elements that are very desirable about the Mario Kart experience, but I would posit that first and foremost, it is the strength of the characters, right? The intellectual property that they represent within the game that makes the series entirely the attractive package that it is, right? Because there are numerous games out there that present the same core mechanics as would Mario Kart with any kart racing game, but it's not Mario Kart because they're lacking the characters and the worlds that these characters inhabit that have nostalgia for all of us as fans, right? Each of us growing up perhaps in different generations and being exposed to different games growing up and forming those fond memories and wanting to recapture that and expand that nostalgia by exploring that in new ways. My typical experience with a mainline Mario Kart game is I'll get it when it first comes out. I'll race it, I'll master. Each one has different mechanics, different characters, brand new courses, as well as a feature that's come about in the last so many generations of Mario Kart is the retro courses from original predecessor games within the series itself. And it's this combination of the new and the old that allows us to just dive in once again. Once I've experienced that and thoroughly immersed myself in it and reached a point where my proficiency within the game has reached a certain point, right? I've unlocked the things that are there to unlock, and I've reached the goals that I want to have for the various records within the game. And the rest of that then lies on the multiplayer component, right? Playing with friends and anonymous players worldwide. And that's really the longevity that you would experience with the game. But a lot of times, going all in on that, you get burnt out. So you'll play in almost like a binge fashion for several months at a time, and then it's just like you move on to other things, right? There's not a significant amount more to do within the game. That's where Mario Kart Tour is different, because there is a constant stream of content that has been brought to the game. There's always a new retro course or a nitro course being brought in, except in very select situations throughout its history. So for the greater than 2.5 years that Mario Kart Tour has been running up until this point, there's still new content that has been trickling through, right? So if we imagine Mario Kart Tour as a complete product, as you might purchase it as a mainline game, then we're still unlocking like another cup to play, new experiences to behold. And that is one of the positive elements of Mario Kart Tour. But perhaps the most attractive part of Tour is the vast array of characters that exist within the game. At face value, this is the entire roster of what we're looking at when we go through the game. So this is my driver inventory personally, and we can see all the normals, the supers, and then the high ends. It's really become a high-end game. So most of the selections exist down here. The ones that are dark are not a part of my inventory. So it's almost like an endless scroll, right? And it will continue to do so as more characters are brought in. And the vast majority of these characters are just alterations of existing characters, right? So there's over 20 versions of Mario, and there's, over a dozen forms of Peach, so on and so forth. These characters aren't necessarily clones because they each possess a unique special skill. Now, in the case of Mario and Peach, where there's a great volume of options that are at your disposal, the special skills do tend to overlap, right? Like there's multiple Marios that possess the coin box skill or the lucky 7 skill, right? Those are among two of the most common elite special skills that exist within Mario Kart Tour. The main gimmick in Mario Kart Tour is that it's a scoring based system, and your position and how you finish the race isn't the sole determination in what your score is. That's based on the action count, so the amount of tricks that you can perform within a particular race. And what provides an enormous array of action count potential within the race is the ability to trigger a frenzy. It's a mechanic in the game in which you have 3 item slots available to you. So if we take a look here at the Nitro course, Berlin Byways 2 RT, we can see that there's 3 rows or shelves of drivers, and their performance will be adjusted based on which shelf that they're in. These selections will vary based on each individual course that there is. So if we take a look here, we see that my favorite driver, Donkey Kong Jr., is in the top shelf for this course, which means that he can trigger a frenzy. But if you are in the second shelf or the bottom shelf, then you're not able to trigger a frenzy. So when you roll through the item boxes, you're only able to obtain 2 items if you're in the middle shelf, or a single item if you're in the bottom shelf. And this has significant limitations with regards to score. Performing in a score-based system is incredibly addicting. Not only are you competing against other players, but you're also competing against yourself, right? What you're personally able to achieve. It's akin to classic games like Tetris, and it's really a timeless concept. Taking a look at how the characters perform, I'll pull up the selection here for Donkey Kong Jr., and we can see that I have the base points, which is the points that you start the race with before you perform any actions, is already maxed out at 1,400, which is the current maximum, and level 8, which is the current maximum as well for its level. So we need to use tickets that we acquire through the game's economy and shops, as well as gifts for logging in and staying active within the game. By applying those tickets to these characters, we kind of build the bond that we experience as we're racing through them time and time again. And as is the case, not only is the stream of content been so long for Mario Kart Tour, but also you have new outcomes all the time as you're switching your setup and being presented with new courses as well as old courses returning to ranked mode, and suddenly your level and the access of items that you have changes. So it's the experience becomes very fresh over time, despite performing the same activity over and over again. A large part of that is due to the connections that we form with our investments that we make, right? And that's a kind of endearment that you wouldn't typically have with a character in a standard Mario Kart experience. And I liken it to an RPG kind of situation, how you start off with characters, and as you level them up, you get to learn the character, you get to enhance their skills. And that's the case here in Mario Kart Tour. We could see that Donkey Kong Jr. has triple bananas, but once it reaches level 4, it gets triple bananas plus, which increases the frequency that you will obtain this item, as well as it modifies the skill in that they revolve around the driver at a quicker rate. In addition to that, these are the courses that it has access to, and once you level it up, you gain access to the ones in the gold font. So the Donut Plains 1 and 1R, the Rainbow Road 1R and Waluigi Pinball R, as well as the level 8 selection for Donkey Kong Jr. is Rainbow Road RT. So these are courses that you're gaining additional access to through further investment to your characters. This kind of immersion and progression allows us to completely master and unlock the full potential of the characters that we want to use, the ones that we want to race with. In addition to that, it has greater scoring potential as well. So increased chance to trigger the frenzies, as well as additional bonus points for when we do perform each action that we do in the race. And there's still additional considerations as well, because there's multiple versions of the character that you may enjoy, or perhaps if you aren't a character-driven player, then the skill that you enjoy playing in this particular game with, right? But then it becomes a situation where that single character or family of characters or that particular class of skill does not cover every single course that's brought to Mario Kart Tour. So we have to fill it in with complements. That's finding these other drivers perhaps that, don't overlap with Donkey Kong Jr., for example, on this course. But then if we take a look at just the regular Berlin byways, well, we could see Donkey Kong Jr. isn't listed in the top shelf here. So it's finding ones that fill out the coverage so that we can complete the experience. It has a collectability element as well as putting the pieces together like a jigsaw puzzle. And when in my general content from Mario Kart Tour, I describe optimizing combinations around how you form your account, it's putting the puzzle together with the fewest amount of pieces possible, right? To make it the most efficient that it can be. So there's an entire metagame based around that and a series of logic and moves that you make in order to achieve that. All of these characteristics put together form the magic of Mario Kart Tour, but it's not all sunshine and roses because the game has to make money. It's a free-to-play mobile game. I myself am a free-to-play player. The limitation comes in the form of the amount of resources you can obtain in a reasonable amount of time, right? So if you're not willing to be extremely patient and methodical with your process, then it's either going to be an undesirable situation in the long term, or you're going to have to invest some real-world currency in order to speed up your progress in the game to bring to fruition the things that you want to have happen in a shorter duration of time. The way that Mario Kart Tour maintains this paywall, as I like to call it, is through the generation of new tracks. And this is something where I described at the beginning of the video, we have this constant stream of content. So what ends up happening is that new courses are brought into the game along with new items to fill it. That's why we have that endless scrolling list, seemingly, of items, and that exists also for karts and gliders as well. And the old courses that were originally available become numerous options, right? It's very plentiful in what is available there. But the new courses that are brought in are highly limited, which means that you're likely going to have to obtain these new items using the premium currency in the game, which is rubies, or perhaps you might have a selection of one or more of these rare or recurring characters that appear in the top shelf of these new tracks in order to obtain the full potential of the game. This infrastructure inherently must exist in order for the developers to maintain a good stream of revenue to continue to provide the community and its players with this stream of content that we've had through time. But what's ended up happening is that in the first year of the game, the representation of characters was extraordinarily diverse, and within that first year, pretty much any character that you could possibly want or special skill that you want to play with either had actively growing value or that the value had pretty much reached its conclusion, but the exposure and viability of those items was still great due to the frequency of its existing courses being recirculated in tour in and tour out. But as more courses have been added, the probability and the likelihood of all of these older courses returning becomes slimmer and slimmer over time. So effectively what this means is that certain characters fall out of circulation, right? So that they become unviable. And this is vastly different from a typical Mario Kart experience where a driver is just as good on every single course. There's no difference in its performance on one course versus another course. So if they bring in an entire set of new courses, like through downloadable content, then it's not going to change the way how your current characters perform. That's very different from Mario Kart Tour, whereas these courses are brought into the game, the existing characters that you race with don't have the maximum potential unlocked on these new courses, and then you need the new items in order to do so. Which isn't a problem because you're gaining resources through playing the game, and that allows you to reinvest into new things. But what ended up happening with Mario Kart Tour is that great diversity that they experienced in the first year in 2020 when the revenue was the highest. They didn't continue on with that diversity of character. In year 2 and 3 in the game, we have not seen any of the Donkey Kong family of characters, whether the existing ones with a high-end alt variation or a new family member being brought to the game, such as Cranky Kong. We haven't seen a high-end variation of Wario since July of 2020. So for Wario, it's been since July 2020, nearly 2 full years now. It will be 2 full years since we know that the Bangkok Tour has Daisy as its character representative. So it's going to be 2 full years, which is 52 tours or 104 weeks since any kind of Wario has been brought to the game. And what that means is these old characters don't have regularly increasing value. So if you're a fan of the character Wario, there's been essentially little to nothing for you to play for in the last 2 years. And it's very similar with the Kongs, right? The Kongs, the last entry was in August of 2020. So that's 1 month shy of the Wario drought that we've seen. And it's been very similar for other things that exist that people have become great fans of, right? We have had, Pauline was a brand new character to Mario Kart in this game. She received 2 alt variations. The last one that we saw was Pauline Rose in February of 2021, the very beginning of year 2, and there's been nothing since. So for fans of Pauline, they've been long deprived, as well as Toad. Toad was a staple within the first year of the game, and there hasn't been a high-end variation of him as well since February 2021. We see a situation then where all of these characters, and there's many more, such as King Boo, the Koopas, right? All of these things are basically just dead ends. And what it becomes is Nintendo has focused on which characters obtain the most pulls as a percentage of the player base because they want to have maximum revenue, right? That's seemingly been the pathway that they've taken, and therefore we get a steady dose of Mario, Luigi, Peach, Rosalina, Bowser. These are the characters that just keep recurring over and over again. The shortcoming of this ideology is that by exclusively providing items to sell to the most populous part of the player base, it alienates all the players that invest and enjoy other things within the game. So gradually over time, the community has been shrinking. Rather than maintaining that diversity, which to present new items, perhaps sell them for a loss, not quite literally because it's still revenue in the pocket for Nintendo, but for less revenue perhaps than they may see from one of the main staple characters. But what going that pathway would accomplish for Nintendo is expanding their share of the market, right? It's akin to selling a product at a loss in order to broaden the audience that's consuming it. And then therefore there's more eyes on the product for when you're selling those popular items. Just to emphasize this point, I'll talk about the characters that have been represented in 2022. Therefore, the first 7 months of the year for the game, we've had 5 Mario alt variations, we've had 4 Luigi alt variations, we've had 3 Rosalina alt variations, we've had 2 Bowser, Peach, and Daisy alterations, and then we had 4 single character appearances, and those were for Charge and Chuck, who's brand new to Mario Kart, right? Had a magnificent entry earlier in the year, as well as Pink Shy Guy Ninja, so that's a Shy Guy alt, and we had Gold Egg Yoshi, so that's a Yoshi alt, and we had White Birdo, which is a recolor of the character Birdo. So outside of those 10 characters, there's been absolutely 0 new representation for characters in Mario Kart Tour. Therefore, that list that I scrolled through before that had seemingly endless options, well, what's actually in play for the given season is just those 10 characters, right? And the variations of said characters. And any of the other characters have completely had their support dropped almost entirely. They will occasionally get a few courses here and there to expand their value, and that's at the very most. The biggest shortcoming of this is the fact that, one, the characters possess a lot of endearment and nostalgia inherently. That's why we're playing this game in the first place. The second point is that this game's infrastructure enhances and facilitates stronger feelings for that. And where they really get let down is on the third point, though, how those elements that bring about the greatest condition for their fans aren't actively supported. So that is the state of Mario Kart Tour. I still love the game, right? I still play it, I cover it for everyone out there. A lot of us share the same thoughts, ideas, hopes, and aspirations for the game to reach the potential that it has, because all the while, all these 2.5 years that we've been playing this, the quality of the game, the modes that are available, the access to the rewards and the resources, all of that has vastly improved the game's state now, just as the game itself is far greater than at any point in its history. But the revenue doesn't reflect that, right? They're not benefiting from all the work that they've put in, and a very large reason for that is due to the failure to maintain that level of diversity and excitement and thrill that's there for all of the options that are possibly available. So those are just my thoughts on why I love Mario Kart Tour and why it's a great game. There's multitudes of ways to approach it, and there's really no wrong way to approach it. I mean, being that it's a game first and foremost, but also looking at what things are capable of and putting it together and forming a coherent strategy is a lot of fun. And I just wish that the options were more available so that everyone could experience the same joy that this game could potentially offer. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Mario Kart Tour. What's your favorite element of the game? Perhaps in shining a light on this part of the game, can give Nintendo food for thought for how to proceed forward with Mario Kart Tour to get the maximum value for their efforts, right? To fully realize the product for the great thing that it is. In addition to that, considerations for future console games. There's so many things that Mario Kart Tour does that a console game doesn't do to sustain your interest for so long. So many different possibilities and permutations, right, of what's actually viable. That's something that is often quite limited in a Mario Kart experience, and I think that they can retool and enhance some of the things that make Mario Kart Tour great with those character progression systems and really create an experience that would be a paradigm shifting for the Mario Kart world as we know it. Thank you for listening. If you like the ideas that were presented here and want to hear more about Mario Kart Tour, if you want to see what the latest content will be for Mario Kart Tour. Subscribe to the channel. That's your source for all of the latest news, knowledge in terms of optimizing various aspects of the game for all different play styles. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful day.